and he mentioned that he was going to do things allegedly to Kid Cudi and to her. The car came into conversation, and at that dinner, Cassie alleges that Kid Cudi said to Diddy, well, what about my car? And Diddy said, what car are you talking about?
Diddy Combs returns to court for the 9th day of testimony in his trafficking and racketeering trial.
Could be a big day. Rapper Kid Cudi, who once dated Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, expected to take the stand. Good Day's Briella Tomasetti outside federal court.
Rapper Kid Cudi is now on the stand in the Sean Diddy Combs and racketeering trial. He reportedly had a brief relationship with Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura nearly 15 years ago. His testimony follows George Kaplan, a former employee of Combs who was granted immunity in exchange for his testimony.
What are you expecting today?
And today, it was testimony about a literal bomb coming from none other than Kid Cudi.
There's only one way we're going up.
The Grammy-winning rapper taking the stand as a prosecution witness against Diddy.
Yeah, but people don't know Diddy allegedly blew his car up.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I forgot. That's a major point to say.
Yes.
Yeah, because he allegedly blew his car up.
What about my car?
Jesus. Yeah.
That's going to be big, man, because, Diddy allegedly threatened to kill him, went to his house with a...
Yeah, Janet Tashani, here's the run of show. Kid Cudi will take the stand immediately after Diddy's former personal assistant, George Kaplan, wraps up his testimony. Kaplan said that he bought twice for Diddy, once in Miami and another time in Los Angeles.
He told jurors about the elaborate process of setting up hotel rooms for what prosecutors allege were parties called freak-offs. Combs denies all of the allegations against him and says all sexual encounters were consensual.
Arriving to court in a black leather jacket, white t-shirt, and blue jeans, and puffing on a cigarette, he testified he and Cassie Ventura dated back in 2011, after Diddy and Cassie had broken up, and after they had collaborated on Last Train to Paris.
Earlier in the day, though, we heard from psychologist Dawn Hughes, who testified as a blind expert on abusive relationships, a major component of the prosecution's case. Hughes explained that women who say they're abused often stay in relationships with their abuser, and that many victims wait months, even years, before telling someone what happened to them.
Just set the scene for us. What is the latest from court right now?
Well, Alex, we saw Kid Cudi walk into the courthouse this morning with a bit of swagger, a black leather jacket, wearing jeans, smoking a cigarette. As you said, he is now on the stand now, and he's already talking about some of the threats that he says he faced while he was in a relationship with Cassie Ventura back in 2011, including one time that he says Cassie called to alert him that Sean Combs had broken into his Los Angeles home.
Revolt with that exclusive video from 2010. In court today, Cudi was shown these photos of what he identified as his Porsche and testified someone had cut a hole in the convertible's roof and torched it with a Molotov cocktail in 2012. His reaction to seeing his car damaged by fire? What the expletive? To which Diddy's defense objected and the judge overruled.
It started with a fire, not in a courtroom, not in the headlines, but in the quiet of a New Jersey neighborhood late at night. When Kid Cudi's luxury car mysteriously erupted into flames, the incident went mostly under the radar at the time, until now. Fast forward to May 2025, and that explosion is back in the spotlight, this time inside a federal courtroom where Sean Diddy Combs is facing some of the most serious accusations of his career. From allegations of manipulation to testimonies about fear-driven control, the courtroom has been a rotating door of shocking witness statements, but nothing has raised eyebrows quite like what's coming next: Kid Cudi's expected testimony. The reason? A claim so wild it almost sounds like a movie plot. Diddy allegedly threatened to blow up Cudi's car after discovering the rapper was involved with his then-partner Cassie. And not long after that alleged threat,
Defense attorneys also cross-examined investigator Gerard Gannon, who was the special agent in charge of the raid on Diddy's home in Miami last year. Gannon told the court that his team recovered around 36 bottles of baby oil, gun parts, and...
boom. The car did explode. The timeline is chilling. And now, with Kid Cudi set to take the stand, the court may finally hear the story straight from him. The trial itself has already been explosive. No pun intended. Federal agents have testified about a raid on Diddy's mansion that uncovered a collection of unexpected items, from luxury goods to items typically used for personal entertainment. A forensic psychologist even broke down the emotional dynamics that can exist in unhealthy relationships, adding even more weight to the claims made by those close to Diddy. But the courtroom energy has shifted. All eyes are on Cudi now. He's not a former employee or someone seeking damages. He's a high-profile, independent artist with no obvious motive, except to tell the truth. So what really happened that night? Was it a freak incident or something far more intentional? And will Cudi's words be the final tipping point in a trial that's already rocked the music industry? Stick around, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Things are heating up fast, and the next twist could change everything. Before the headlines, before the courtroom chaos, there was a secret, one that only a few insiders knew.
Over there to try and confront Combs so that when he got there, Combs was gone. He said some things had been tampered with. His dog seemed startled. He was locked in the bathroom. So he called police to file a break-in report.
And that Sean Diddy Combs reportedly never saw coming. Around 2011, singer Cassie and rapper Kid Cudi were quietly seeing each other. It wasn't a flashy red carpet relationship or something they posted about. In fact, it was hidden for a reason. Cassie, who at the time was in a professional and highly visible relationship with Diddy, later revealed she was afraid of how he'd react if he found out. During a recent testimony, she said she kept a separate phone just to communicate with Cudi, out of fear. Not because she was doing something wrong, but because the power dynamics around her made honesty feel dangerous. According to Cassie's account, Diddy discovered the truth one night during a hotel party. He got a hold of her phone, saw messages between her and Cudi, and allegedly lost it. And that's when the chilling threat was made that he would blow up Cudi's car. This wasn't just a heated argument or a dramatic outburst. The threat, if true, pointed to a mindset of control that prosecutors say Diddy exercised over those around him. And it didn't stop with just words. Cassie said she continued to be in contact with Cudi, even though she feared what might happen if Diddy ever found out again. The situation wasn't just complicated, it was dangerous. And now, more than a decade later, it's being dissected in front of a jury. This section of her story adds serious weight to the prosecution's case, because if her claim about the threat is backed up by Cudi himself...
And he's also talking about a time from January of 2012 when he says his car was set on fire with a Molotov cocktail in his Los Angeles driveway. Just last week, Ventura testified that Sean Combs had threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car.
Especially given what happened to his car shortly after, it could be the kind of evidence that leaves a lasting impression on the jury. But this story's about to get even more intense, because that car explosion, it wasn't just a rumor, it happened. And next, we're digging into the moment Kid Cudi's car turned into a fireball and how that one night could shift the direction of this entire trial. April 2012. In a quiet neighborhood in New Jersey, just before dawn, a loud pop shattered the silence. Flames shot into the sky. By the time emergency services arrived, the luxury Audi R8 parked in Kid Cudi's driveway was engulfed and unsalvageable. At first, the fire seemed like an isolated, unfortunate incident, but what raised eyebrows was the timing and the eerie coincidence it followed. That very car, according to Cassie's testimony, was the one Diddy had allegedly threatened to destroy. The message wasn't vague, it was direct. If he keeps seeing you, I'll blow up his car. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, that message has taken on a whole new meaning. At the time, Cudi didn't speak out publicly, but in recent years, and especially as the trial gained momentum, a representative for him confirmed the incident and shockingly added, "This is all true." The fire marshal's report from that night didn't offer much clarity. There was no indication of electrical issues or known mechanical failure. Neighbors described the sound as sudden and explosive. No one was ever arrested, and no one took credit for the destruction. It was filed away as a mystery until now.
Because he had found out about their relationship together. But his lawyers have denied that he had any involvement in any arson. But remember that arson is a part of the racketeering charge that he's facing. So this is crucial testimony for jurors to hear.
Prosecutors are using the car fire as a possible example of the extreme pressure Diddy allegedly applied to anyone he viewed as a threat. Whether it was subtle intimidation or outright fear tactics, this wasn't just about industry drama. It was about control. And with Cudi soon expected to speak under oath, what he says could turn that mysterious fire into a powerful piece of courtroom evidence. If Cudi confirms that Diddy made the threat and ties it directly to the explosion of his car, it may push the jury to connect dots that the defense has been trying hard to scatter. But, as we'll see in the next section, this one incident wasn't the only sign of how far things may have gone. There's a bigger picture here, and it's tied directly to the central charge in this entire case. The bigger picture. How it connects to racketeering. To really grasp why this car explosion matters, you have to understand what prosecutors are trying to prove. This isn't just about personal drama, it's about a pattern, a system. Sean Diddy Combs is facing federal racketeering charges. That's not something reserved for ordinary criminal cases. Racketeering is used when prosecutors believe someone ran an organization that used intimidation, fear, or coercion to maintain control and power. It's the same charge often brought against organized crime networks. And that's exactly how the government is painting Diddy's empire. The incident with Kid Cudi's car? Prosecutors say it fits right into that alleged pattern. A romantic rival is identified. A threat is made. The car explodes. No direct confrontation, no official blame, but a loud message sent. Whether or not Diddy had anything to do with the actual fire, the timeline.
Kid Cudi's testimony specifically goes to the racketeering conspiracy. It doesn't go to the sex trafficking or to the transportation for the purpose of engaging prostitution charges. In regards to the racketeering conspiracy, you have to prove at least 2 predicate acts. And one of those predicate acts that the prosecution are trying to prove is that of arson for blowing up the car of Kid Cudi.
And the fact that the threat was made beforehand gives that incident far more weight. But it's not the only example they've offered. Earlier testimony revealed that Diddy allegedly demanded money from Cassie's mother after learning about her daughter's connection with Cudi. She claims she was told to pay $20,000, or private videos of Cassie would be leaked. Scared and cornered, she said she took out a loan on her home to meet the demand. And now, with Kid Cudi set to take the stand, the picture becomes even clearer for the jury. This isn't about one bad breakup or a string of emotional outbursts. The prosecution is building a case that says this was a system, one where people were manipulated, silenced, and punished if they stepped out of line. The car explosion may seem like a wild headline on its own, but in the bigger picture, it becomes something far more dangerous. It's a piece of a puzzle the government believes shows long-term planning, retaliation, and control. But how is the defense responding to all of this? Are they even acknowledging the explosion, or trying to flip the narrative entirely? Let's get into how Diddy's legal team is fighting back next. As the prosecution piles on explosive claims and emotional testimonies, Diddy's legal team is sticking to one core message. None of this proves criminal intent. According to them, what we're seeing isn't racketeering, it's regret. They argue this entire case is being built on stories from former partners, ex-employees, and people who now have incentives to rewrite history. And the car explosion, they say it's a tragic coincidence, nothing more. Their approach is simple.
So that is his main purpose in testifying, but also he's giving context as to Sean Combs, his demeanor, his jealousy, his violent nature, and what he was willing to do to try to separate Cassie.
Cast doubt on the timeline, question the motives, and highlight the lack of direct proof tying Diddy to any physical wrongdoing. They've already suggested that Cassie's relationship with Cudi was more complicated than portrayed, and that jealousy, miscommunication, and emotional strain may be driving these accusations, not criminal behavior. In fact, they're preparing to challenge Kid Cudi's credibility too. According to courtroom sources, the defense may attempt to bring up Cudi's past struggles with mental health, framing him as unreliable and overly emotional during that time in his life. It's a risky move, especially given Cudi's public image as a candid and introspective artist. But it shows just how serious Diddy's team is about shutting down this testimony before it does real damage. They've also pointed out that no charges were filed regarding the car fire back in 2012. There was no arrest, no forensic trail, no eyewitness, just a fire and speculation. And that, they say, is not enough to build a federal case. The defense insists that Diddy's past relationships were consensual, his circle was full of high-profile people used to intense dynamics, and that his success has made him an easy target for those with grudges or financial motives. But for all their efforts, one thing is clear: the courtroom has changed since this trial began. What started as a question of private behavior is now being framed as a public power play, and the jury is watching every move. Next, we break down exactly why Kid Cudi's upcoming testimony could shift everything, even if the defense wants to downplay it. Kid Cudi isn't just another celebrity name in this trial, he's the wild card, and prosecutors know it. Unlike other witnesses, Cudi has no financial stake.
Cudi went on to tell the jury he set up a meeting between himself, Cassie, and Diddy after the explosion, describing Diddy as looking like a Marvel supervillain when he showed up. When he asked him about his Porsche, Diddy told him, "I don't know what you're talking about."
No pending lawsuits and no history of public feuds with Diddy. That makes him, at least in the eyes of the jury, a neutral voice. Someone with nothing to gain and potentially everything to lose by stepping into this storm. And that's exactly why his testimony could hit harder than anything heard so far. If Cudi confirms, under oath, that Diddy directly threatened him over his connection with Cassie, that alone chips away at the defense's narrative that these claims are just twisted memories or emotional exaggerations. And if Cudi goes a step further and places that threat in close proximity to the actual car explosion, the courtroom may fall silent, because then it's no longer just Cassie's word, it's corroboration. In legal terms, that matters. It changes how the jury sees intent. It strengthens the racketeering claim, showing a pattern of behind-the-scenes intimidation tactics. And more than that, it makes the case feel real, not distant or theoretical, but personal. Cudi's quiet demeanor, his past struggles, and his reputation as a thoughtful, low-drama artist only make his testimony more powerful. He's not someone known for drama. He's someone who disappeared from the spotlight at times to protect his peace. If he's chosen to speak now, in this moment, it sends a message. Something serious happened, and it can't be ignored anymore. And for the jury, that's huge. Because in a case built on fear, pressure, and power dynamics, the quietest voice can sometimes echo the loudest. What will he say?
Diddy's lawyers argue evidence in the case reflects domestic violence, but not sex trafficking.
Will he connect the dots or leave the past in the shadows? As we move into the next section, we look at the ripple effect. What could happen if the jury believes him, and what's at stake for one of music's most powerful moguls? If the jury believes Kid Cudi, the ripple effect could be massive, not just for Diddy's defense, but for his entire empire. We're talking about more than a courtroom loss here. We're talking brand collapse. Right now, several of Diddy's business partnerships are already on pause. Liquor brands, television ventures, and music royalties are quietly pulling back, waiting to see where this lands. But if a respected artist like Cudi steps into that witness box and confirms that a threat was made, and that it was followed by a suspicious incident, that pause could turn into a permanent freeze. The legal consequences are no less serious. Racketeering isn't just a flashy charge, it's a heavy one. It carries the weight of long-term sentencing and reputational ruin. If the jury starts to see a pattern, threats here, fear tactics there, followed by convenient silence from those involved, it builds momentum, and if they accept Cudi as a credible witness, it could tip the scales toward a conviction on the most severe counts. That's why this testimony matters so much. This isn't just about a car or a broken relationship. It's about a culture that prosecutors claim existed around Diddy for years, one fueled by influence, silence, and fear. If Cudi's words bring clarity to that picture, the fallout could reach far beyond the courtroom.
It's a long trial, and we're just getting started. And we have a lot of witnesses to go. We have a lot of weeks to go. And as the summer gets hotter, I'm sure so will the trial.
But here's the twist. No one knows exactly what Cudi will say. He's stayed mostly quiet until now. And sometimes, the quietest voices drop the loudest truths. Next up, we wrap it all together with a powerful conclusion, summarizing the key stakes and asking the one question everyone's now wondering. We followed a car fire from a quiet street in New Jersey all the way into a federal courtroom in Manhattan. What once seemed like an isolated, strange incident now sits at the center of a much larger story. A story about influence, fear, and how far someone might go to protect control. Cassie's testimony gave the courtroom its emotional core, but Kid Cudi, he could give it the undeniable edge of credibility. If he confirms that a threat was made, and if that threat matches the timeline of that fiery explosion, it changes everything. It adds weight, it adds motive, and it adds proof. Diddy's team may try to downplay it, chalk it up to coincidence, or paint it as paranoia. But juries don't just listen to arguments, they feel them. And when a high-profile witness walks in with no lawsuit, no agenda, and simply tells what they remember, that lands differently. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about winning or losing a trial. This is about legacy, fortune, power, and reputation. If the jury sides with the government's narrative, the fallout could dismantle everything Diddy built over decades. And that's why all eyes are now on one man. What will Kid Cudi say when he finally takes the stand? Will his words deliver the final blow, or leave just enough doubt to keep the empire standing? Let us know what you think in the comments. Will this testimony change the course of the trial? Or is it too little, too late?